The Leopard 1 was designed to combat Soviet tanks in a potential Third World War. Although this German Wildcat never fulfilled its destiny during the First Cold War, it is now engaged in conflict after more than 3 decades. Today, we're investigating the Leopard 1, one of the top Western main battle tanks available in the late 1970s. The Leopard 1 represents the rebirth of German Panzer legacy. In stating this, we're not praising an evil regime that caused great suffering, of course, but simply recognize a remarkable engineering marvel. The successful lineage of German Wildcat Panzers was inevitably disrupted following Allied victory. The victors would not even allow the formation of a new German army until 1955. When West Germany was rearmed against the Soviet threat that year, US M47 and M48 tanks became the backbone of armored units, which was clearly an interim solution. The Germans initiated a development program for a new Panzer as early as 1956. However, a 10-year gap was enough to fall behind in the competition. Additionally, many talented engineers who had honed their skills during the war were now working for other nations rather than for the fatherland. Nevertheless, the collaboration between Porsche KG, ZF Friedrichshafen, Ruchstahl AG, and the Indian Tata Group to develop a main battle tank for India restarted the process, even though it ultimately failed. The Germans decided to collaborate with the French in 1957 to continue. The Italians joined the team 1 year later. As one of the early examples of joint European defense system development projects, this program was a precursor of the future. Soon after, France would withdraw the consortium in favor of its locally developed AMX-30, while Italy would acquire the M60 from the USA. 3 separate teams in Germany worked on the project. Team A consisted of Porsche, Atlas Mach, Lothar Werke, and Jun Jungenthal. Members of Team B included Ruchstahl AG, Rheinstahl Hanomag, and Rheinstahl Henschel. Team C actually covered only one company, CFW Bogward, which had to halt its project in 1961 due to financial problems. It would go bankrupt within 2 years anyway. Therefore, West Germany received prototypes only from the first 2 teams. However, due to technical difficulties and budget cuts, Team B also withdrew in 1961. West Germany selected Team A's design as the winner in 1963. The new Panzer was named Leopard, which was later renamed as Leopard 1 after the introduction of the Leopard 2. Bonn appointed Kraus Maffei, now KDNS Germany, as the prime contractor for production. Mach, now Rheinmetall Landsysteme, was the subcontractor responsible for developing and manufacturing submodels. The company would also produce a limited number of main battle tanks. The Federal German Army introduced the first production Leopard 1 into service in September 1965. Belgium was the first foreign customer of the Leopard 1. The Italian company Autobreda, now Leonardo, also manufactured the tank under license. Following the introduction of the Leopard 2, Kraus Maffei ceased production of the Leopard 1 in 1979. However, 2 NATO countries, Greece and Turkey, ordered newly built Leopard 1s in 1982 because they had insufficient budgets for the more advanced but more expensive Leopard 2. By the time production ended again in 1984, 6,485 Leopard 1s had been built, including 4,744 battle tanks. The remainder were sub-variants, not counting 80 prototypes and pre-series vehicles. At the time of the Leopard 1's design, high-explosive anti-tank warheads were increasingly common. Conventional steel armor offered limited protection, and effective countermeasures were not yet available. Furthermore, the Second World War had already shown that mobility was more important than armor protection for survivability and combat effectiveness. As a result, the Leopard 1 was designed as a lightly armored tank with a welded steel hull and cast steel turret. The initial production model weighed only 39.5 tons, whereas even the Second World War era Panther was nearly 45 tons. Conversely, the Federal German Army did not sacrifice CBRN protection. To enhance survivability, the Leopard 1 is also equipped with an automatic fire detection and extinguishing system, a hull escape hatch, infrared reflecting decontaminating paint, and 76mm smoke grenade launchers. The tank has superior road speed and cross-country mobility compared to most other main battle tanks of that era. In that regard, only the French AMX-30, designed on the same principles, and the Swedish STRV-103 could rival it. The early production Leopard 1 featured the most advanced fire control system and optics available at the time. These systems have been continually modernized and remain effective. The commander's fire control override enables the tank to engage in hunter-killer operations. Its main armament is a German licensed version of the British 105mm Royal Ordnance L7 rifle gun, one of the most effective and widely used tank guns of the era. The gun is compatible with all NATO standard 105mm tank munitions and has an elevation and depression range of +20 to -9 degrees. The Leopard 1 carries 60 rounds of 105mm ammunition, with 42 stored in the hull and 18 in the turret, as well as 5,500 rounds of 7.62mm machine gun ammunition. The tank is maintenance-friendly, with complete power packs and barrels that can be replaced in the field within 20 minutes. From 1971, Krauss-Maffei began production of the Leopard 1 A1 variant, featuring a thermal sleeve for the main armament and new tracks. It also has a 2-axis stabilization system that rotates the turret 360 degrees in 15 seconds, ensuring a high first-round hit probability while moving. The tank is also fitted with side skirts. The Leopard 1 A1A1 variant includes passive add-on armor for the turret and gun shield, as well as enhanced combustion air intake filters. The tank later received the PZB-200 low-light level television system with the IRS-100 infrared scanner and was redesignated as the Leopard 1 A1A2. These upgrades raised combat weight from 39.5 to 41.5 tons. Krauss-Maffei built 232 of the 5th production batch of the Leopard 1s, with the modifications of the Leopard 1 A1 without spaced armor on the turret and mantlet. Their turret armor, on the other hand, is thicker, and they have an improved CBRN system and passive image intensification night vision equipment for the commander and driver. This variant is called the Leopard 1 A2. Krauss-Maffei built 110 of the 5th production batch of the Leopard 1s, incorporating all improvements from A1 and A2 versions. Designated as the Leopard 1 A3, this variant features a new welded turret with spaced armor and a wedge-shaped mantlet. These modifications increase the combat weight to 42.4 tons. Greek and Turkish Leopard 1s are equipped with the EMES-12A3 computerized fire control systems. The Leopard 1A4, the final production model, is similar to the A3 but features an integrated fire control system with a stabilized panoramic telescope for the commander and a gunner's primary sight with a stereoscopic rangefinder. These are coupled to the fully stabilized main armament and controlled by a ballistic computer. The Leopard 1A5 is a modernized variant equipped with the EMES-18 fire control system and the WBGX thermal imaging system. Many users have modernized their Leopard 1s to enhance survivability, firepower, and mobility. To keep our video short and sweet, we will mention just a couple of them. In the mid-1980s, Leopard 1 underwent experimental trials with the 120mm L44 smoothbore gun from the Leopard 2, along with mock-ups of advanced add-on armor and infrared suppressing measures. This version was designated as Leopard 1 A6. During Eurosatory 2022, John Cockrell unveiled its modernized Leopard 1 variant, combining the tank's hull and the company's unmanned 3105 turret. On May 18, 2025, Belgium announced a military aid package to supply this version to Ukraine. The Leopard 1-based armored recovery vehicles include Bergepanzer 2, ARV-2000, HART, and Wisent 1. The Hippo and Bulldog are variants of the beach recovery vehicle. Pionierpanzer 1, Pionierpanzer II Dachs, NM189 Ingeniørpanservogn, and Leopard 1V AEV armored engineer vehicles, along with the Minebreaker 2000/2, Leopard 1VP, and PNMIRK mine clearing vehicles are based on the Leopard 1. The hull has also been used for bridge layers with the Biber and Leguan bridges, a driver training tank, the jumbo heavy-duty firefighting vehicle, and the Gepard, Cheetah PRTL, and Skyranger self-propelled anti-aircraft guns. Some of non-serial Leopard 1 variants include the Beob Pz Art Leop artillery observation vehicle, Minerydderpanservogn mine clearing vehicle, Wegmann-Raketenwerfer 80 multiple rocket launcher, and the Panzer anti-tank missile carrier. Chile also tested a 122mm multiple rocket launcher mounted on a modified Leopard 1. Germany also developed assault guns based on the Leopard 1, known as the VT-1 and VT-12. The hull was tested as a carrier platform for the ADATS and Roland air defense missile systems. It was also used to mount 76mm automatic and Matador self-propelled anti-aircraft gun turrets. The Panzerhaubitze 70 self-propelled howitzer was based on the Leopard 1, and the 155mm AUF-1 turret was mounted on the hull for trials. Brazil, Chile, Greece, Turkey, and Ukraine still operate the Leopard 1, while some other nations utilize the auxiliary variants. Australia, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Norway are former operators. The 4-person crew of the Leopard 1 includes a commander, driver, gunner, and loader. Its hull length measures 7.09 meters. The tank is 9.54 meters long, 3.41 meters wide, and 2.76 meters high. Its combat weight is 42.4 tons. The 830 horsepower MTU-MB 838CA M500 diesel engine provides a maximum road speed of 65 km per hour. The tank has a range of 600 km. The Leopard 1 can negotiate 1.15 meter vertical steps, 3 meter trenches, and ford to a depth of 4 meters with a snorkel. The tank is armed with a 105mm L7A3 rifled main gun and two 7.62mm MG3 machine guns. On April 29, 1994, near Tuzla, 7 Danish Leopard 1 A5s from Amprofor's Nordic Battalion engaged Bosnian Serb forces that were attacking a Swedish observation post. One Danish tank was slightly damaged. In return, they destroyed a Serbian recoilless gun and a T-55 by firing 21 rounds of 105mm ammunition. This skirmish, known as Operation Ballbank, is considered by most sources as the Leopard 1's baptism of fire. However, before that, in the early 1990s, Turkey deployed Leopard 1s in the war against terrorism. In response, Germany imposed an arms embargo due to concerns about human rights violations. If these reports are accurate, the tank may have first seen combat in Turkey, although there is no visual confirmation of the Leopard 1 in action there. Canada also deployed 5 Leopard C1s with Maxis armor to the Balkans, but these tanks did not engage in combat. Later, Canadian Leopard C2s, including 17 tanks with Maxis armor, were deployed to Afghanistan and saw combat between 2006 and 2011. Canada lost at least 3 tanks and another 15 were damaged. The Leopard 1 has finally fulfilled its destiny by engaging in tank combat in former Soviet territory during the ongoing Russo-Ukrainian War. Its accuracy, especially in long-range night engagements, has been highly praised by Ukrainian forces. To adapt to battlefield conditions, Ukraine upgraded Leopard 1s with additional armor, including explosive reactive armor blocks on the turret front and center, and a cage with netting to protect the turret from drones. Nevertheless, by the end of 2025, 22 Leopard 1s were destroyed and another 6 were abandoned by their crews. The Leopard 1 is no longer considered among the top tanks in its class, but it remains effective in specific roles. While it lacks heavy armor, Its passive protection is unmatched among light tanks with similar firepower and mobility. As many armies continue to use T-55s, T-62s, and Type 59s, the legendary Leopard 1 remains relevant. Thanks for watching our video. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button to be notified of our new videos. For more contents like this, please consider clicking the join button to support our channel. And as always, we would greatly appreciate all of your likes, comments, and shares.